Hello and welcome everyone to the Tuesday, August 15th Jupyter IPython Developers Call. Happy to see everyone here. We'll kick off by starting out with documentation updates. Jessica, we're following agenda is on Dropbox paper and should be linked into that for Blue Jeans. So go ahead and get started, Jessica, if you're ready.
Yeah, it's basically a quick update. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, somebody's not muted though. We're getting a lot of microphone noise.
I believe it's Fernando. It's okay.
Okay. Sorry. Just a quick update. There are a few odds and ends that are happening to get everything ready for JupyterCon. Some of this is with the website, and some of this is with Jupyter Lab. We've been working through getting the tutorial ready, and I need to follow up with the rest. I think I'm following up with Brian in order to figure out what else can be done to get Jupyter. Yeah, I'll be following up with Brian to figure out what else I can be working on before JupyterCon. Also, just with getting some of the repos ready for the sprints. So that's what I'm up to.
Okay. All right, thanks, Jessica. And I don't think either Grant, Cameron, can you mute yourself? I don't think either Grant or Thomas are on the call. So are there any updates on Notebook before we move on to Jupyter Lab? Okay, so with that, we'll move on to Jupyter Lab.
Yeah, so we're trying to get in a ready state for JupyterCon. The notebook model refactor is ongoing. The setting editor, the feature set that we've decided we're going to freeze at for now is a two-column setting editor where the left-hand side is read-only system defaults with commented JSON, but the right-hand side is only actual JSON, no comments. We're going to add the ability to save comments in a later PR because it seems like a good iterative place to stop, and that requires a bunch of back-end work and some refactoring on the front end. So the version for JupyterCon will have the two-column view, but no comments for user settings only. There are a bunch of design enhancements that have already gone into master, and there's two PRs that are linked here that if Cameron's on the call, he can chime in on. If not, I don't know very much about them except to know that a lot of them were bug fixes.
Yeah, I'm on the call.
Sweet. You want to talk about them?
Yeah, so in one of the sidebars, there was like a fix with the theme kind of icon for the selected state. And then also throughout the application of Jupyter Lab, I changed the icons from Font Awesome's icon set to Material Design Native. And I added those to both the light theme and the dark theme. And then there's active state check boxes as well as like inactive state for the menus as well. So I'm gonna, throughout this week, keep on doing style changes to Jupyter Lab. I saw Steve replied to me about adding a focus state to all of the inputs. So I'm going to work on that today and see if I can get that PR by the end of today in. But more style refinements to come.
That's awesome. One thing that I noticed only in the dark theme is a disabled button in the dark theme. You can't read its text, but in the light theme, when it's disabled, it looks properly disabled.
Okay.
So that's just one thing that came up.
Okay,
cool.
I'll check that out.
And yeah, I guess that's it for the Jupyter Lab update this week.
Quick question for Cameron. So IPyWidgets likely will want to be themed differently if it's in a dark theme versus a light theme. Is there a way for extensions to be able to change their styling based on the theme? At least the two
Yeah,
standard themes.
so we have the variables like the layout colors and the border colors and the UI colors. They're all in those variables.css. And so just access those and find like the colors within the IPy widgets that like correlate with those. So like it'll probably be like JP layout color 1 for most of the components. And then just apply the borders. It should be pretty straightforward. It's just a matter of like finding the right color that works with the actual component.
That's right. And I guess we do base actually mostly on the CSS variables from the themes, at least a while ago when we forked the theme essentially.
Yeah, and I'm trying to like soon in the future make all the components on like the documentation so you can kind of just pick and choose whatever component you want and the colors and how like you use them. That still has to be done on the design side.
Is there a way to also have some sort of class at a top level that indicates the theme name in case we want to make decisions based on the theme?
That could be possible.
Yeah, we could add it to the body if you want just to write custom CSS based on names. But if you want it programmatically, you already have access to it from the theme manager. Yeah, so we probably should add it to the body as well, so that people who are only writing CSS can write custom things that target like specific static strings.
Yeah, and maybe a notion of version of the theme as well, because likely the theme will change over time. So the dark theme, I mean, the dark theme is a CSS package or an NPM package.
Yeah.
So it's got a version number associated with it. So you could make a class that's the theme name dash, version, whatever. And that way people could, if they needed to, write CSS that targets a specific theme.
You'd probably want to do that with a data tag. You can't put dots in there and stuff. I mean,
yeah, even a data tag would work. Yeah, something that I could use a CSS selector on.
Oh, and Darian, you're muted. Are you talking?
Oh, sorry. Thank you very much. Yeah, I was going to say you can put the theme name and version in a data tag, but I think it's a mistake to parse version stuff on the client, especially since the theme that you would be depending on is an extension itself, and you will have already depended on a version. That should be sufficient for your extension to either know it's going to work or not going to work, because you've already used Semver when you created your theme package by depending on another package. Right? So
yeah, in IPyWidgets, I'm not depending on the dark theme, for example.
But if you want to specifically refer to dark theme things like you're describing now, then you ought to, right? Because that's the semantic meaning of specifically targeting. But if you're not, if you're just using the global variables, then you're always good. If you're doing something specific to a theme, then depend on a version, because you're explicitly saying, I care about this actual theme and not other stuff.
Well,
yeah,
then
so you're suggesting move the version
like the
number
theme
constraints to NPM instead of CSS.
Yeah, that's my intuition, but like this is an on the fly reaction, so we can talk about this.
We could talk about it more later. I don't want to derail the discussion too much.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
So do both light and dark need to inherit from a common theme that you can actually base something against?
They have a common set of CSS variables, and so you can write to those common CSS variables in Jupyter Lab.
Right, I understand.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Sorry. Yep.
That's it for Jupyter Lab. Anna, you're on mute.
I see that Grant has joined the call. Do you want to talk about Notebook?
Sure. So we are just trying to resolve one issue before we release 5.1. It doesn't seem, I posted it in the, I've included it in the paper doc here. So if you guys could take a look at it, that would be helpful. It's, how do I describe it? It seems to be an error with MathJax that appeared to be the result of old JS being cached in the browser. and then people upgrading and then refreshing the notebook, but still getting the old JS. But it seems like that's maybe not the issue anymore because we've been working with one user who's able to reproduce this. So, yeah, I mean, it'd be great if Min could look at it, or I mean, Tom.
It only affects MathJax. It only manifests itself with MathJax.
Well, and it's not even that it's like affecting MathJax. It's just we're getting this this error modal when you load the notebook, and Thomas thinks that it's a MathJax error, like this kind of obscure, could not, something about callback. Let me see. It says can't.
Our modal?
Yeah, it's a notebook failed to load modal, and it says error can't make callback from given data. And then it says see the console for details, and then if you open up the console, there's nothing there. So it's not affecting everybody because Thomas and I can't reproduce it. It's only affecting certain notebooks. It only seems to be occurring in Safari and Firefox, I believe. And and then something like if they try loading that notebook and then refresh it, then it goes away. So
have they tried incognito mode or what private browsing mode in Firefox?
I'll ask them to try that.
It's been months worth of tracking down stuff that essentially was an extension that was modifying DOM nodes and whatnot. So yeah, that's our first line of try this first.
So actually, so that's a good point, because I think Carol was the first one to encounter this, and we determined that it was probably LastPass extension that was doing something, and as soon as she disabled that, it went away. Now we have someone else that's experiencing it. They don't have LastPass installed, but they might have something else.
And by the way, I believe. Sorry, go ahead, Darren.
I was going to say one thing about Safari that's different from other browsers is if you're in incognito mode, private mode in Safari, local storage doesn't work, which means lots of libraries fail, whereas other browsers, private modes don't do that. So it could be two unrelated causes that are browser idiosyncrasies. It's worth investigating.
So could browsing in incognito mode actually cause this error potentially?
In Safari, browsing in incognito mode might break lots of stuff. Yeah.
Oddly, he is seeing it with both Safari and Firefox. By the way, I believe Chris, the person who reported this is Chris Fonnesbeck. I think he's going to be at JupyterCon, so it might be worth if this. Sometimes these really recalcitrant browser things are the easiest to debug face to face. So maybe sitting down for a half hour with him might help. I know Steve famously found some of my weird ones just by grabbing my computer and using it for a half hour.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think he's going to be. I think he has a talk at the conference.
Yeah. So this is the only thing holding up 5.1, and it's not affecting everybody. So if we don't make progress on it this week, what do you guys think? I mean, do you think we should release anyway, or should we just wait until we can figure it out?
What else is in 5.1?
Nothing huge. Bug fixes for the most part. Yeah.
I mean, given that that JupyterCon is coming, I mean,
be nice to have it.
I think it'd be nice to have it if it's only one person reporting it, and we can always put a 5.1.1 out with a small fix if you really realize that there was a bug rather than some completely strange, unmanageable user side configuration issue like an extension or something.
Because we haven't actually changed anything about MathJax, so it's probably not actually related to MathJax. It's probably just some sort of environment thing. Another thing is that we are going to try to push out 5.2 relatively soon, because we have this new right to left PR that was submitted by the IBM people.
Oh, cool.
And that it looks like it's ready to go. I would just like to merge it into master and use it a little bit in master before we release it. So as soon as 5.1 goes out, we'll merge that in. And yeah, we can give that just a week or two, and if it looks like it's good, then we can just do a 5.2.
That brings up an interesting question. How do you think right to left is going to land on lab, on the Jupyter Lab side of things? Sort of, have you guys looked at that at all? Not yet. Okay.
But this is a good reference. This PR is a good reference because it's actually not all that complicated what they did.
I was going to ask you, how big is it and how complicated is it?
Yeah, it doesn't affect a ton of files. It's mostly CSS stuff.
Okay, so it might not be too difficult to port that functionality, because obviously
they might be willing. They might be willing to do that too. I think that they wanted to do it for Jupyter Lab, but for whatever reason they decided to do it for Classic Notebook first. Mm-hmm. So yeah, once we get this merged in, then they might be willing to
port it.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right, great. Thanks, Grant. Anything else on Notebook before we move on? All right, Jason or Sylvan, do you want to give a Jupyter Widgets update?
Sure. We've been iterating rapidly on the issues that people have been finding with beta, so thanks so much for everyone in the community that's been working on testing the beta. We've worked through all the code issues. We're polishing up a few typesetting issues we noticed in the documentation and giving just a general run through the documentation to make sure it looks nice. And then I think we'll be ready for an RC. So unless there's other issues that we find today, we're probably going to finish the documentation and release an RC today or tomorrow.
Okay. I don't think are there any NB convert or services updates? I don't think either. Not sure if those folks are on the call or not. Okay, Min, do you want to talk about Jupyter Hub? I think Carol's traveling out to PyCon Poland right now.
Yep. We just shipped the Jupyter Hub 0.8 beta today. So people can try testing with that since it's kind of a big release, and we've had a bunch of little releases of the associated packages. Yeah, but not that else that's exciting.
Okay. All right. So next in the agenda, we have conferences and workshops, and we have a pretty decent list of events going on there. Please continue adding on to this list as you book talks or as you hear of events so that the community can see that list there. And of course, we have JupyterCon next week somehow. I'm not sure how that happened, but it did. And so I hope you're all ready for it. Sprints we have 44 people out of the 80 slots registered. So one last reminder to register for that if you haven't already and you're planning to attend. That room has capacity that we cannot exceed. So I would expect the rest of those registrations to fill up and sell out as we talk about those sprints during the week. So make sure that you're mentioning that gathering on as you're at the conference, mention it to people so that we can complete those registrations and have that fill up completely.
It just occurred to me that it might be nice to make like a really memorable bit.ly URL for the registration page, something like bit.ly JCon 17-sprints or something really that we can remember so that we can actually tell it to people walking in a hallway. Like, oh, just go to bit.ly JCon 17-sprints or some really short thing that we can remember, not one of the auto-generated like random strings of characters, because it'll make it easier to encourage people to hop on.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Can you take care of that, Anna, or should I do it?
Yeah, sure. There might even be like Eventbrite /Jupyter sprints or something like that.
Maybe, but if not a bit.ly or Google or whatever, any of the shorteners, just one that we can remember.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good idea. Okay, so as far as action items, is there anything that anyone wants to add to this list for the group? I think otherwise
I just wanted to say that we're excited to have people there. Hopefully everyone will have a good time. It'll be very productive. It'll be fun. I think we're going to want to have folks helping out a little bit at the booth. I don't know how that's going on, a little bit of scheduling of that, but we may ask of all of you who are attending to donate an hour or two of your time so that the Jupyter, because we have a very nice booth in conjunction with Focus, and we're going to want to make sure that people from the team or that we always have kind of a human presence at the booth, so that when visitors swing by and come and ask questions, they always find people from the project. You do miss a few talks, but it's actually a really good experience, and it's fun to do it, and some of us have done that in the past, and it's also really valuable to kind of interact with the community. So hopefully everybody will be willing to give us a bit of your time at conference.
Yes, and I will be sending out a schedule for people to kind of sign up for slots. 1 to 2 hours at a time, so that it's not like, if everyone kind of gives an hour or two, then that fills out the schedule pretty easily, actually. So, yes, I will be emailing that out to the group. And Jason, Kyle, you're still looking for sprint leaders. I did add one for Cameron there onto the list. Cameron, I don't know if you want to talk about that at all, but are you still looking for more people, Jason?
Certainly, always looking for more people. If we have 40 people, and I know there's at least another 10 or so that haven't registered yet, if we can have sprint groups of like 4 to 5, I think that's ideal. So if we can have another 5 leaders, that'd be awesome.
Alrighty.
And again, at the beginning of the sprints, we plan on sort of introducing people that are leading the sprints. So if you're planning on working on something, it would be really good to have, especially the people in this group, up in the front, saying what they're working on and inviting people to join them.
Jason, where do you sign up for that, or did I already sign up for that?
I think you already signed up for it. I'm just taking the list that's on the Dropbox paper.
The Bitly link is online and working.
What is it?
JCon 17 sprints. No dash, no underscore, no whatever. It's into Dropbox.
And plural, right? Sprints?
Yes.
Okay, it works. I just tested it. So Bitly, JCon 17 sprints. Perfect. Yeah, nothing to remember, all lowercase. Thank you.
All right. Awesome. Thanks, Matthias. So we've reached the end of the agenda, other than a reminder and recap on all of the releases. Please take a look at that. I copied some of those over from the previous week, so some of those may need to be updated. Is there anything else that anyone wants to talk about, share with the community before we sign off?
One quick note is that unfortunately, because of I have a teaching conflict in the fall, I'll be missing for a couple of months the meetings. But Brian has had to do that in the past, and I think it's easier to just. We have so many people for whom this has already become kind of a staple in their calendars that I would just leave the meeting schedule alone. If I can join in at the beginning for 10-15 minutes, I will, and if not, I'll just catch up with you guys and watch the video online. So I'll be bummed to miss everyone, and but I don't have an option. I have a class conflict at that hour.
Well, have fun teaching.
I certainly will. It's been a while, so I'm really going to enjoy it.
All right. Anything else from anyone before we sign off?
Oh, and we should note, no meeting next week, obviously, since we will.
Oh, yes.
Most of us will be at JupyterCon or on planes on our way to JupyterCon or whatever. So just for anyone else watching, no, this meeting won't happen next week.
And no meeting the week after either.
And the week after, yeah.
Okay.
So this one is on pause for 2 weeks.
2 week hiatus. Got it.
Yep.
Okay. I'll remind everyone on the Gitter just in case people forget. But yeah, that's good to flag that. So okay. Well, great. Then I look forward to seeing everyone at JupyterCon.
See you all next week in New York.